I tell you, life is interesting. Life's a journey. See this phone here? Let's say that I want to go to the phone, right? And I start from over here. Now, to get to the phone, it's not like I'm going to start meditating and going hum, right? And float across the air, right? It's not going to work. It's not like I'm going to go hum and woo, it's not going to work. So I have to take one step at a time, one step at a time, one step at a time. You can only take one step at a time. I don't care how big your step is, it's only one step at a time. You can't do 2 steps in one. You understand? So it's like one step at a time. And you take steps in this direction, you take steps in that direction. Sort of get lost along the way, and sometimes you fall down. Now, to illustrate my point, I'm going to jump off the table, do a back twist, and land on the floor. Okay? Is that cool? Are you ready? Oh, there's a clock there? Okay, can you move the clock for a second, please? Beautiful, beautiful. All right. You ready? So, are you guys ready? Just let me know when you're ready. Are you ready? Okay, ready? 1, 2. I'm joking, man. Are you serious? Just put the clock back there. If I did that, I'll break my arm or something. You know what I mean? But honestly, along the way, you might fall down like this. Ready? Right? Hello! Right. So what do you do when you fall down? Get back up. Everybody knows to get back up, because if I start walking, I'm not going to get anywhere. But I tell you, there are some times in life where you fall down and you feel like you don't have the strength to get back up. You sort of put a mask on your face when you come to school and pretend that everything's okay when it's not, and you go home and lay in your bed when no one's looking at you, when you don't have to impress anybody, and you're yourself. And fear comes in. You know the fear that you have as soon as you walk into the doors of your house. Maybe there's a broken home. Maybe you have doubt in your life. Maybe you don't know for sure what's going to be happening in the future, and it scares you. Maybe you're worried about what people think of you, what people say about you. Just that fear paralyzes you. And I just want to ask you today, do you think you have hope? Because I tell you, I'm down here, face down, and I have no arms, no legs. It should be impossible for me to get back up. I mean, you go home and tie the legs and arms of your brothers and sisters and like push them down and see how long it's going to take them to get back up. You know what I mean? You can tell them that you'll see them tomorrow. You know what I mean? But this is the thing. It should be impossible for me to get back up, but it's not. You see, I will try 100 times to get up, and if I fail 100 times, if I fail and I give up, do you think that I'm ever going to get up? No. But if I fail, I try again and again and again. For as long as I try, there's always that chance of getting up. Does that make sense? And it's not the end until you've given up. And just the fact that you're here should persuade you that you have another chance to get back up. There's still hope. I'm not here today to tell you that I understand your pain. I don't know how it feels to be abused. I don't know how it feels to feel, quote, fat and you've got an eating disorder. I don't know how it feels to have a broken home. I don't know how it feels. But I know how it feels to have a broken heart. And I know how it feels to be alone. And I want you to know that I found my strength in Jesus Christ, and you're going to find your strength in whatever you find it in. But I just want you to know that it's not the end. It matters how you're going to finish. Are you going to finish strong? And you will find that strength to get back up like this.
My daughters would say to you that what I've always told them and what they've told me is to follow my dreams, follow their dreams. I remember one particular incident, and my daughter Tara is here, so she's going to be embarrassed if I tell you the story. She was at the Convent of the Sacred Heart in Greenwich all her life. She went there when she was 3. She just graduated a few months ago. And in Sacred Heart, I think the 3rd Wednesday of every month, they have a mother's coffee. I think that's a plot against working women. Because how can I show up at a mother's coffee on Wednesday morning at 9 o'clock? So I didn't. So Tara would say, Mom, you didn't show up for mother's coffee. The first couple of times, I went through guilt. So 3rd time, I said, wait, got to come up with some coping mechanism here. So the next time she said, Mom, you didn't come for class coffee. I go, yeah, but so-and-so didn't come, so-and-so didn't come, XYZ didn't come. So it was my way of saying, I'm not that bad a mom, They didn't show up too. Which was true. Many of them didn't show up.
That was good. You outed them. That was nice.
No, it's a coping mechanism. We all have to find our own coping mechanisms. So then when she came back home that evening, I said, Tara, you keep saying I don't make your class copies. Would you like me to quit my job and stay home? I asked her this question. And I thought she'd say, yeah, great idea, do that. She looked at me and she said, Mom, are you nuts? You worked so hard to get here. Follow your dreams, Mom. I'll be okay.
Wow.
This was 12-year-old. This is what she said to me. I have never forgotten that answer. I have never forgotten that answer because both my kids said to me, Mom, follow your dreams. You came to the United States with nothing, $50 in your pocket. And I worked as a receptionist at Yale from midnight to 5 a.m. because that paid $3.85 an hour versus $3.35, which was the minimum wage. I wanted that 50 cents more an hour because if I didn't have that, I couldn't buy groceries end of the month. And so that's what I did to put myself through school. And I've told them these stories. So they look at all that and they go, Mom, you've done so much to get here. Follow your dreams. So I tell them always, Willow, follow your dreams.
And it was something I was told on the first day of ever joining the Special Forces, and I remember at the end of this long selection process where 180 of us had been whittled down to 4 of us. And this guy who we'd never seen before came in, stood in front of us and said this: the difference between ordinary and extraordinary is often just that little word, extra. And the work I'm going to now ask you to do is not going to be ordinary. It's going to be extraordinary. But what's going to make the difference is when not 1 ounce of you thinks you can. You're the people who over this last year have shown me you can turn around and give me that little bit extra. And it's that's going to make your work here extraordinary.
I think the most common mistake I see people make, and men make this mistake too, but women do a lot, is they're too worried about the upward trajectory and not worried enough about growth. So the 2 corporate jobs I've taken, I went from Treasury to Google, and then I went from Google to Facebook, had one thing in common, which is that they were more junior, other people's words, not mine, than other jobs I was offered. When I went to Google, Google was like 250 people. I was going to be a business unit general manager, except there were no business units. Susan Wojcicki's here. She helped recruit me. This was the non-job of all time. I mean, there was no job there. And I was offered like senior sounding, more senior roles at more established companies. But I really believed in what Google was doing. And Eric Schmidt gave me great career advice. He said, go for growth. Growth moves everyone up. It's growing, it works. And so I went to a smaller company with a very more junior, less defined job. When I came out of Google, it seems obvious now to come to Facebook, but at the time, a lot of people asked me, right, you remember this, what are you doing? You're going to work for a 23-year-old, no one knows if Facebook's going to be the next, MySpace or Friendster, and you're not CEO. You could be CEO somewhere else, and what I saw was something that mattered, Facebook mattered with authentic identity, and an opportunity for growth. And so at each stage, I've cared less about my level, I kind of think it's silly, than I have about the underlying growth. And I do think this is really important for everyone to know.
In life, people will hate on what you do. And this is my take on it. It's not natural to be like, oh, I'm gonna go on this girl's video and write she's a whore, da da da. That's not a natural thing to do. The only reason someone would do that is because they're dealing with their own insecurities. If someone doesn't like something, they could easily ignore it. But when people feel the need to go out of their way and comment on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook, this just means that they're just really friggin' insecure. And if you do have haters, which inevitably everybody will have, handle it like a boss. At the end of the day, all the people that want to tweet their witty comments on Twitter or on Facebook, on YouTube, I'll never respond. Why? Because you're still watching what I'm doing. You're commenting underneath my video, giving me a view. Who's really winning? Even under this video, someone will write a hate comment. Many people will. Why? Because they're mad at what I'm saying right now. And they're mad that I'm calling them out. They feel bad about themselves. And they wish they could wear a winter hat in the middle of summer. And they wish they had, this friggin', where is it? Pimple right here. They wish they did. You wish you did. You have a hater that's super annoying and is like... And you have a hater that's super annoying and just keeps bothering you. Just agree with them and tell them to shut the F up. Dude, how did you know I'm a whore? How did you know? How could I not have noticed that I'm black? I feel so stupid. I can't believe you knew I was black and I didn't. Oh my god, you're right. I do eat curry and I am smelly. I'm gonna go take a shower in Febreze.
When Dick Nisbet, he makes a turn in his career as a psychologist where he goes from, remember, he thinks the fundamental attribution error in the beginning is fundamental. Yeah. And then he realizes, actually, no, it's cultural. And he puts out, and it doesn't refute the fundamental attribution error. It deepens our understanding of it to say, oh, actually, it has roots in Western culture, but you see a very different, and actually, then he writes that book about East-West, which is incredibly fascinating. So he gets two great books out of going back and going over and correcting his earlier position. That, to me, is the model for how you ought to behave in the intellectual world, which is, I think, you should always double back and say, well, no, wait a minute, this is more complicated here. We can kind of, and contradiction is too strong a word. But you should be constantly revising your conclusions, I think.
All the good fighters are not fighting each other. It's a Dante Wilder. He's knocking out everybody, but he hasn't fought a rated guy. Yeah, he's a couple of guys he should fight before he fights Klitschko or fought this other guy, the gentleman from Haiti. What's his name again? Esteban. He should fight some contenders. I'm not saying he's a bad fighter. He can't fight. It looks like he was going to win. Before the fight even started, this guy's going to win. That's not what boxing's all about. Boxing's about being pushed, about being challenged, about challenging yourself. Muhammad Ali, they talk about Rocky Marciano 49-0. Rocky Marciano got his ass kicked. He fought for that O. He fought the best fighter. They beat his ass. He came back. He didn't have the undefeated record by osmosis. He fought for it. These guys are not fighting for it. The undefeated records. If he lost a fight, look, Ali's the greatest fighter ever lived, and he lost. No one's gonna ever be better than him. He's the greatest fighter ever lived, and he lost. So being undefeated doesn't mean anything if you don't push yourself and go through the test.
Somebody taught me a long time ago a very valuable lesson, which is if you do the right things on the top line, the bottom line will follow. And what they meant by that was if you get the right strategy, if you have the right people, and if you have the right culture at your company, you'll do the right products, you'll do the right marketing, you'll do the right things logistically and in manufacturing and in distribution. And if you do all those things right, the bottom line will follow.
Yeah, there's a very thin dividing line between success and failure when you start a business from scratch. And if you don't have enough money to pay the bills, you go the wrong side of that dividing line. And if you can somehow get enough money to pay the bills, you stay the right side of that dividing line. I've always been running faster than perhaps I should, and I have great difficulty saying no to things, so keep on taking on new things. And we've just managed to stay the right side of the dividing line over the last 50 years in business. But equally, in those early days, when you're starting a business without any financial backing, it's easy to slip the wrong side. And in fact, most entrepreneurs do slip the wrong side. And the important thing is then just to pick yourself up and start again. And if it doesn't work at that time, keep going until you do succeed. and not to give up.
What is a success? Success is not about how much money you have in the bank. Success is simply about how many lives you've been able to impact positively. And, I tell our children all the time is that, the best way you will ever know that you have become successful is the day you become humble. Because if you have an iota of arrogance left in you, that you're still trying to prove something to someone or yourself, that means you're not successful. Success comes from when you don't have to tell someone, you know who I am, right? You just be yourself, right? And you go out and do things that you care about. And what is it that you're passionate about? What is it that you're willing to die for? And then you live for it. What if that was if you had everything in life, what would you do? And if you do that today, and that's how you constantly focus and find your passion to do things that can change the world.